Last week was a bye week for One Night Stand. Notice last week was not a rest week or a recovery week or a vacation week. Last week was a bye week. Look, every Division II football school in the Midwest came to a consensus. I wasn't talented enough to play at the Division II level. So I read between the lines and concluded NFL scouts would have a similar thought, and I just gave up football. But the NFL looks so fun. So I use sports terminology on my chess podcast. Because everyone deserves to feel important. And I can't help that Julio Jones runs a 4.4, and I run a lot slower than a 4.4. So I'm back from my bye week. And to kick things off, I wrote a song called Boomerang. I prefer to have a real musician, but I'm not good enough at chess to not have some music here. I couldn't figure out the chords, so we're not going to do any instruments. I'm just going to sing it for you. This song was inspired by one of two things. First possible source of inspiration for this song I'm about to sing called Boomerang. A past romantic relationship. It's possible. That's option one. Possible source of inspiration, option number two. A frustrating chess plateau I faced last Monday afternoon, and it's caused me excruciating emotional strain all the way through early Wednesday morning when my insomnia finally subdued a little bit. But I don't want you to lean either way. So it's either, again, option one, a romantic relationship, or option two, very painful chess plateau that's left me bitter. I'm going to sing it for you. I'm not going to say it's the chess option, but I will say, if you really want to guess accurately between those two options, I like chess a lot. Man, it hurt. Okay. Boomerang. I used to hide from the world sometimes. Played it safe, played inside, where there was no one there to make me cry. Tonight my tears fall so hard, they might start a flood. We shouldn't fight just to fight, so tell me why. I'm saying please beat me up, and if I turn the other cheek, promise you'll hit me harder. Can't help but smile while I bleed. Notice I haven't punched back, and how much more will I take when I can tap out at any time? Instead, I reach for the ropes. They better get you some water. Cause round two starts soon. I'll bounce back just like a boomerang. You know it's chess. Can't hide it anymore. It's obvious now. My warm bed would feel so good tonight. In my dreams, I still see the life I'm leaving behind. When my tears just dripped instead of starting a flood. I know no one ever wins in a fight, but it's too late to run. This is where there'd be a cool build-up progression and possibly a scale to segue into the second chorus. Just envision it. Use your imagination. Repeat chorus. Let's do that. And if I turn the other cheek, promise you'll hit me harder. Can't help but smile while I bleed. Notice I still haven't punched back. And how much more will I take? I could tap out at any time. Instead, I reach for the ropes. They better get you some water. Cause round three starts soon. I'll be back just like a boomerang. I don't like to finish with bridges. But music's just a temporary thing anyway, so I didn't want to spend too much time. Throw me away and throw me harder. Never felt so much pain each day. It just keeps getting harder. With that frown on your face as your arms getting tired. And I'm just warming up, so I guess you should have thought smarter. You can throw me high as the stars, or even throw me behind prison bars. But I'll always escape and come flying back your way just like a boomerang. I need more enthusiasm in that bridge. And the bridge is really intended to provide contrast to the rest of the piece. It's hard without the notes, but that contrast generally comes in the form of a varied chord progression or change in key. And that bridge sounded a lot like the rest of the song. So let me try to figure something out here real quick. If I scream it, would that be a contrast? Throw me away and throw me harder. I never felt so much pain each day. It keeps getting harder. No, that's not it either. I need a musician on my show, man. Nova's asleep. I was going to let her take the bridge over. Let's try one more time with the bridge. This is why you rehearse before you do this stuff, guys. Maybe I try the high note. That'd be a switch. No, I can't go high. That's not in my grasp. Shoot. Screw the bridge. Only reason I do music anyway is a bridge until I'm a grandmaster. I'll sell my instruments or give them to some underprivileged school because they'd just be a distraction anyway to my life's goals, which are chess-based. All right. So there's my song. It's called Boomerang. If I ever say anything too offensive, where enemies are unable to go to sleep at night until they get revenge on me, I get it. Human brain's a fascinating object. And if you need to retaliate against me, I've got some experience with that also. And I want to save my enemies the time. You can torture somebody in a lot of ways, I've heard. Least creative way to torture somebody. Sleep deprivation would do it. And then you can get into some pretty dark stuff that I don't want to talk about. But if you want to get back at me, I'll save you the time. Here's how you do it. Hack my chess.com account and change my password. I'll be insane by dinner that night. Don't waste your time. All right. I'm not going to play a chess battle. I'm going to replay a chess battle. My audience is my dog Nova, and she's making noises. I think she's dreaming. Sweet dreams, babe, or nightmares? Sound good. I better attend to that. Dog dad first. Family first, chess second, kind of. No, can I help you with something, babe? What's going on? What's going on? Hey, say hi to the people, babe. Does anyone actually watch this? I don't know. I don't have time to check the views. All I do is make great videos and win chess battles. You okay? Man, I'm sorry, whatever's going through your perfect brain. I'll be right with you, okay? Okay, love you. All right. Now that we've confirmed Nova is okay, all right, there we go. Cool, cool. There we go. All right. Okay. As I was saying, the best way to get real good at chess has got to be analyzing games from the greats. I read Ben Franklin's autobiography recently. It's fascinating. The dude taught himself to be basically arguably the best writer of his generation. And he was self-taught, which is incredible. One of Ben Franklin's most devastating frustrations and failures in his life, and he's one of the greatest inventors ever. He's a really impressive guy. But it tore him up that he could not become an elite chess player. And I can see why. That'd be emotionally devastating, and I hope I don't suffer that fate. And what's interesting is Ben Franklin was a very good, strong, competent chess player, but he was never able to consistently compete against the best in the world. But Ben Franklin was able to improve himself to an elite level in many competitive fields. Why not chess? The most likely reason, one of the brightest, most innovative Americans of all time could not reach the peak of the chess world that I'm after. There weren't a ton of top-notch chess players in America during the time of Ben Franklin. So he didn't have grandmaster games to analyze and creatively teach himself chess. But he did have books and essays of the greatest writers of the time. So he was able to learn his own weaknesses in writing and address them through a very well thought program. If you give Ben Franklin the tools we have today, you never know. He might have been the best chess player of all time too. We'll never know. But I've got all the tools, so let's see what happens. Okay. Since I do have all the tools, what we're going to do is get that off of my screen because I hate multitasking, and that's just an extra screen I don't need in my life. Okay. So again, nochess.com, the immortal game. Gary Kasparov's immortal game, 1999. We're going to analyze it real good. Gary Kasparov's opponent, make sure I pronounce this right. That Vasilin Topalov was Gary Kasparov's opponent, enemy. If you think I don't like my opponents, I bet Gary didn't like his much more. That's why Gary probably used whatever term enemy would translate in Russian. I'm sure that's what Gary viewed his opponents as also. Okay. And again, anyone who doesn't know my personal opinions about technology, I'll recap them for you. Technology is the greatest blessing to our society ever. Technology has saved my mom's life through an app that monitors her diabetes. Technology also will likely be the extinction of the human species. Yeah. Silicon Valley people, they really shouldn't get too much say in what goes into the brains of young people. But technology does that too, you know. Like Bo Burnham said in his special Inside, I don't have the exact quote, but basically, let's not give rich, powerful people too much control over what our youth sees. It'll end real bad. That's why I print out my stuff. I printed out Gary Kasparov's Immortal Game. I'm going to replay it. And I'm going to give analysis. To be clear, my goal is not to give analysis of Gary Kasparov's 1999 Immortal Game. Arguably the best chess, most impressive chess game ever played. Here's my goal. I want to give above average analysis of the Immortal 1999 game by Kasparov, in hopes a few grandmasters will hear my commentary and give me a call to criticize my mistakes. Because I deleted my LinkedIn and I need to network somehow, right? And if they call me, that's a lot easier than searching for them. But I'm going to give it my best shot. Okay? Begin. Kasparov played as white in his Immortal 1999 game, and Nova is going to be playing as the enemy. And she'll be black. My dog Nova is black. I'm going to dream I'm as talented or half as talented as Gary, and I'm going to play as Gary the white pieces. Okay? As you'll see on the board, move number 1, we're going E4. Please, please, please. Don't do this to me right now, please, please. Okay, let's check the box. That'll do it. As I was saying, E4. Man, this makes me so happy. Okay, E4 by white. Listen to talk ratio is very important because, to repeat Bo Burnham again, can anyone shut the you-know-what up about anything for just a few seconds? No, it doesn't seem so. So I'm not going to commentate every move if it's pretty self-explanatory. You're controlling the center. E4 is a real common move to open. D6 by the enemy. I believe the perk defense would be what is developing at the moment. I don't know much about the perk defense. Another thing I learned in business is if I don't know something, I should probably shut up, and I will. Perk defense, I'm not familiar. D4, I am familiar with that. We're controlling center once again. D4, please. Hey, you. D4, let's go D4. Hey. D4. Could you please for me? Let's go D4. There it is. D4. Again, it's real good to control center. Every move should have a purpose. 3 acceptable purposes. Attack. 1. Defend. 2. Control center. 3. That's what we're doing here. Controlling center. Black responds with knight to F6. Okay. Please. Thank you. And what's going on here at a high level, because I'm, again, not a grandmaster yet, is our E4 pawn is now threatened. It's not real good to lose material, especially early. So we need a way to defend this E4 pawn. And Kasparov chooses to go knight to C3. Okay, please work with me. Knight to C3. This is going to be frustrating. Get some kinks ironed out. There we go. Okay, as you can see, knight to C3. And now this E4 pawn is no longer in the danger zone because enemy horse wants to gallop to E4. It can have the pawn, sure. Our horse is going to gallop all over enemy horse. Enemy won't make that trade. And our pawn's safe on E4. Okay. Enemy's going to respond with G6. And G6 does at least one thing. It gives enemy the option to fianchetto. I believe that's the correct term. Fianchetto this dark square bishop with the potential to control the long diagonal of A1 to G7. And that's, if you get a fancy term such as fianchetto for a move, it's probably because it's valuable. And it is. You want to control long diagonals. It's real good to do that. And now what Kasparov's going to do with his fourth move is he's going to go bishop E3. And I'm not sure of Kasparov's exact thought process because he's a lot smarter than me, but likely he would have been preparing to move his queen into the action and activate it as well so that he can then bring bishop to H6 and force enemy bishop to capture and eliminate the possibility of enemy dark square bishop controlling the long diagonal, which is what you'll see happen. Okay. Enemy's going to go bishop to G7. As anticipated, enemy bishop is now officially fianchettoed. And if that horse rides, then enemy bishop is going to be active. Come on now. This is frustrating, man. Come on. I'm supposed to be the best if you're not going to work with me. There we go. So then it would be active and fianchetto. Yeah, that's the goal. Long diagonal. Okay, now queen to D2. Okay. C6. I'll be real honest, I don't understand that move precisely. Man, this is incredibly mad. There we go. Okay. I'm not exactly sure on the purpose of that move. I'd have to think about it. And again, that's for practice. We're live now, so I don't want to waste your time there. Just know Kasparov knew what he was doing. I don't. That's why he was a grandmaster, one of the best of all time, if not the best. And I'm singing songs on a chess podcast. Okay, so enemy went to C6, and now we're going F3 here. F3, okay. Come on now, let's go. Thank you. And my assumption is Kasparov wanted to defend his E4 pawn a little bit better, and that certainly does it with the C3 move there. Or F3, I apologize. Enemy's going to make a interesting move here and go b5. Okay. Please for me, live chess app. Okay, thank you, appreciate you. All right, b5 here, and that's a good move. I can't take credit for this particular analysis because I want to say I saw on another, I had to look this one up as to why that was a good move. I replayed it on chess.com and also watched another analysis from a real grandmaster. But it does at least one thing, which you could argue that you could develop a queenside attack now as the queen is now very active. Also, it limits a lot of our mobility over on this side. As you can see, I don't have a way to attack it because I'm not going to lose my horse. Enemy pawn's going to steal my horse. It's a good move, good aggressive move, and that's what you got to do against one of the best attackers of all time. You're going to want to attack back because if he gets you on your toes, you'll be playing defense, and you'll be playing defense until you lose. Okay, knight g to e2. Okay, knight g to e2. And the only debate on that move being good or bad, you could argue it's bad because it cuts off White's light square bishop. White's light square bishop is no longer active. But I mean, where's it really going to go though? Like, is it going to go to? I mean, it's just going to kind of get stuck in the middle there because of the b5 move. That's probably another reason that enemy dude went b5 is because the bishop can now not go to c4 because enemy b5 pawn would eat it up. So it's okay to block off our light square bishop with knight g to e2. And now what's going to happen is knight b to d7 by the enemy. I don't care much about enemies, so we're going to lighten the analysis on the enemy perspective and focus on ourselves. That's all we can ever really control in life anyway. For example, when I was at my worst a few months ago, I set 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. as do not disturb for Dayton. Kind of like your iPhone has do not disturb. Dayton was on do not disturb, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. There was nuclear war. That would suck. But if there was a nuclear war between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., I'm either reading or playing piano. Because I can't stop nuclear wars. All I can control is me. I can't control enemies, aside from outwitting them and not giving them my time and energy. Okay, so knight b to d7, enemy did that. We're going to control ourselves. We're going to go bishop to h6. Now, that's a, gosh darn it. Wish I could at least control my board, though. Dude. Come on, man. Work with me. Thank you. Okay, now, the fianchetto thing. Long diagonal by the enemy, no longer. It's got to take, so it doesn't lose a bishop for free. So bishop takes on h6, and now our queen captures. Enemy bishop. Strong move. Like it a lot. Not that Gary should care if I like his moves, because I prefer Gary give me advice, not the other way around. Queen takes on h6, bishop to b7. No fianchetto on the other side. Let's try to fianchetto on this side. Good logic. And now we're going to go a3. Mainly, I would assume, to prevent enemy b5 pawn from walking to b4 and forcing our horse to ride somewhere. That's likely the move. I have to assume the logic there. Enemy's going to go e5. We don't care too much about enemies, so his logic is irrelevant because he is not, again, a good person or a bad person. He's the enemy. He's like a blade of grass or a speck of sand. I'm indifferent to him. Now we're going to castle, right? Okay, we're going to queenside castle. Yep. And one thing to note, after listening to Daniel Narodaisky's videos, you're anticipating enemies now going to have to also castle queenside because of our well-placed queen on h6. It's going to make it real hard to castle short side or king side. And when you have same side castles, it's going to be a lot less, or at least less open compared to if you had opposite castles. So if I castle or Kasparov castles queen side and enemy castle king side, then you have a little bit more aggressive possibilities. So I've heard. Okay, so we castled. Queen goes e7 for the enemy. Okay, you do whatever you want, enemy. I'm not interested. King to b1. I can assume this is either some type of waiting move, and or this would allow enemy or our horse on e2 to ride to c1 and then ultimately gallop off to a more enticing attacking position, freeing up the c1 square. Most likely the main motive there. Enemy's going to roll with a6. Not interested in you, but you're probably freeing up your c pawn to do some stuff now that your a pawn is protecting your b pawn, whatever. 13, we're going knight to c1. Yep. And now you've got your 2 moves away from getting it to your horse to a5, and then you've got a really well-placed horse on a5, hopefully. c1. Yeah. Enemy's going to castle. Knight to b3, and we're hopping over. All right, getting the knight involved. Enemy's going to take on d4. Don't really care, but I know that we've got to get it. Got to steal that pawn before it gets into our territory even further. 2 options. You can use we could use our b3 horse to jump, or we can use our rook to take, but we've got to take it. You can't let enemy pawn get in our territory that closely. So there we go. We'll be seeing you, enemy pawn threatening our territory. Rook to d1, knight to b6. Yeah, knight to b6. Don't care. We're going to go. No, that's not. Why would you do that? No, surely not. Okay, yeah, c5. c5. Get our rook. Force our rook back. Kasparov probably could have went to d2, but he's the best ever. And I'm just talking on a podcast, so he chose to go to d1. And I'm certainly not going to question his authority. Enemy's going to go knight to b6 now that he's forced our rook out. Okay. We're going g3 now. Okay. g3. If anything, it's going to activate our bishop to diagonally slide to h3, which would then have a pretty good line on enemy king. But I didn't really know for sure the motive, so I don't want to speak there. And then we've got d5 by the enemy. Okay, d5. 20. Queen is going to take. Queen is going to roll to f4. And no, that's not right. No, that's not right. What to do? 1, 2, 3, 6, g3. G3. Ah, okay, here we go. King to b8 by the enemy. Okay. Now what we've got is our knight's going to a5, as was mentioned previously. Bishop to a8, which enemy didn't have to move his bishop, but trading knight for bishop would not make a ton of sense for the enemy, because now enemy preserves that long diagonal with enemy bishop still safe. Bishop to h3. Okay, there we go. Very, very strong attacking placement for our bishop here. d5 is the next move by the enemy. No. Yep, now we went d5. Okay. trying to understand and think like these grandmasters while also talking is very challenging, because I need all my mental resources to keep up at that level, and I'm multitasking, which shows the very obvious gap between their skill level and my own. But now we're at D5. Okay. And here we're going to go queen to F4 check. Okay. I wouldn't have seen that move probably, but it looks real good, and I don't see why not, because now I don't really see anywhere the king could go. I mean, no, he couldn't go anywhere. I mean, A7 would be the only move by enemy king there. And we're going to follow up with rook H to E1. And why not line the rook up with enemy queen? If we can get a queen for only a rook, that's real good. Now enemy's going to respond with D4. And now this is where I would panic a little bit at the moment. I'm not too manly to admit it. This is where Kasparov does not panic, which is why he won a lot of games. And could still probably roll out of bed from retirement and beat me soundly, if not humiliate me. So enemy goes D4. Our knight goes to D5, and this is where you really get into some strategy. This strategy that's over my head, but I'll try to explain it. If Gary is offended by my analysis, I encourage Gary to come on my podcast. I'd love for him to correct me and also give me a few autographs on my chess equipment. That'd be real cool. Okay, so knight to D5. At a glance, it looks like White's going to lose a pawn here, and Gary's a real good attacker, so he could probably survive without a pawn. But when you analyze it further, Gary calculated more accurately than me, of course, as you would expect, and it actually wouldn't work out, I don't think, where he would lose a pawn in the long run. But either way, enemy's got to take on D5. You can't leave the knight dead in the center, and enemy could do that with enemy knight on the F file or enemy knight on the B file. Enemy chooses to use the B knight. Don't really know why exactly, but it's the enemy. Once again, I don't care too much. And now we got to take the horse. Okay. There it is. And now this is where our pawn's in jeopardy. Not a fun jeopardy like the game. Our pawn's in a lot of trouble here. And king A4 check. Let's see here. Okay. King T. Rook to E7. C takes on D4. E takes on D5. There we go. Okay, move number 23. And then queen's going to go to D6, which is where it would have lost me, because I would have probably used a horse to take the pawn and threaten our queen, but Gary saw more stuff because Gary's a lot better than me, and so is the enemy, and that's why I'm struggling to follow along with their thought process now that it's getting very complicated in the calculations. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try real hard, and I'm probably going to succeed, because just like they told me in T-ball, if you put your mind to it, you'll be good. And my dad corrected that thought, which was there's no trophies for second, and I like that thought process too. But I don't want to discourage anyone, so go with the all you can do is try thing. Enemy went queen to D6. We're going rook takes on D4. Boy, that's brave. I would never make that move because you're sacrificing your rook, and I'm not sure how you could pass that up, which is why the enemy does not pass that up. and chooses to go c takes on d4, capitalizing on the rook sacrifice Kasparov offered. And now Kasparov's going to go rook to e7 check, and this is getting way over my head, but because naturally I would want to just use my queen if I were the enemy to capture the rook. Obviously, that calculation was incorrect because enemy goes king to a4 to get out of check. Wow, that's incredible. He throws rooks around like I would throw pawns around. Like they're just house money to be gambled with, but that's what you can do when you're the best. Queen to d4, b4, check. King to, wow, that's impressive. Okay. King to b6 to defend check. Now we're going queen takes on d4, so we're winning that pawn back. And now the only option really, enemy's gonna have to take our horse on a5, which enemy does that. Now this is a move which I would say is a pretty advanced move, but not so advanced that I might not have saw it. I might have actually got this one right. Kasparov goes b4 check, and the only option now is enemy has to go to a4. It's the only move. And a follow up with c3 by Kasparov. I don't know if there would have been any other acceptable move, considering next move is mate with b3. So enemy takes on d5, and now we're going with a queen trade versus mating, because if we go there, well then, then black would actually win, because after queen takes and pawn takes, then enemy could take there and win a pawn, which is why that's a solid move to take there and defend that b3 square from checkmate. I have to be a little bit quiet. My dog's sleeping. Okay, so queen takes on d5, move 29, rook to a7. And this is where, after replaying the game, I really understood black's response, but initially it's hard for me to, especially in a blitz or bullet game, it would have been hard for me to anticipate. In a rapid 10 minutes or above, I would have solved the puzzle correctly. Enemy goes bishop to b7, because if rook were to get access to that square freely, that's mate, which is why enemy's just going to lose a bishop. Or sorry, enemy's going to, lose a bishop, b7, taking on b7, because I don't know that it would be any type of pin, but enemy queen can't capture rook, because then we mate there. So that's why it is okay to leave the rook in the line of fire of enemy queen. Okay. Queen's fighting back the urge to steal the rook. If you need a controversial wordplay of what enemy queen is feeling right now emotionally, enemy queen just experienced a very painful divorce. She fell in love, was married for a few decades, but the stress of COVID was overwhelming and she needed some time to herself. Enemy queen's king had enough, and they separated. And all enemy wants to do, enemy queen just wants to attack our rook. But enemy queen still has some self-control, even after the emotional trauma that COVID and divorce caused her. So she's going to stay right there to defend b3. So rook takes on b7, perfect logic. Queen is going to go to c4. Okay. And as opposed to accepting the queen trade, after that little sequence there, what we're going to do is we're going to win a free horse. Horses are real expensive just to ride them. I have to pay a lot of money for one day just to borrow one of the horses at most places. So to steal a horse for free, you got to do it. And Kasparov does that. Queen takes on f6. King is going to take on a3. Can't argue with that, even though the enemy is the enemy. And enemies are always wrong. 32. Our queen is going to slide to a6. Check. And now this is where it still looks playable to me as black, but Kasparov's smelling blood because he's one of the best attackers of all time, if not the best. And enemy wisely goes to b4 because enemy has no choice. And when your only choice is the right choice, you're going to make that one. So king takes on b4. Now c3 check is a move. No way I would have saw it. And that doesn't mean I'm not confident in my chess skill. That just means I'm willing to admit my weaknesses, because you want to be confident, but realistic is a good trait for anyone trying to do some cool stuff anyway. And realistically, Kasparov's a lot better. That's why he went c3 there. Because you can't go queen to c3 if you're black. Then you're looking at a mating opportunity after queen takes, and then king slides, mate. Okay, so that's why it's a real good move. Where was this guy at? Were you there? I think it was there. Where were you at, man? We're going to go there. I don't think that pawn's really super relevant anyway. But you have to, oh, there it is. But you have to take with king. I'm just going to get that out of there because it's not really super relevant. Yeah, it's going to be relevant, though. It's going to be right there, right? That pawn's somewhere. Right there, right? Yeah, there it is. Okay. But the king's got to take on b3. Because as I mentioned, if queen takes, then it's going to be mate in 2, I think. So there we have king takes. Queen to a1. King takes on c3. Okay, there we go. Play that back. Okay. Gosh darn it, man. King takes, there we go. a6, there it is. Yeah. There you go. Okay. King a6, king takes on. a6, b4. c3. What the hell is this pawn doing, man? Is it there? I plan to record this tomorrow morning, but again, I have no income, so I'm trying to do some part-time stuff on the side, and I figured if I could get this recorded tonight, that would free up time to make some cash so I don't lose my house. I love chess, but I love having a house. I'm thankful for having a house, and I don't want to lose it. So I'm fighting through the exhaustion at the moment. Okay. King takes on c3, correct. 34, okay, queen to a1. Here we go. Queen to a1 check. And the only move really is the move enemy makes, which is king to d2. We're going to check him again with queen to b2. And now this is real bad. I think I could probably close this out at this point. So if I can bury enemy, Kasparov's going to bury him way deeper, like in that Holes movie. Like, you've got to go dig them hole. It's going to be similar to that. Like, Kasparov's got a shovel now, and he's probably going to embarrass enemy pretty bad. I would resign now if I were playing Kasparov, but I'm a lot less talented than enemy in this situation, so enemy's going to play it out a little bit longer. We're going to king d2, queen b2 check, which we did. King to d1. Okay, makes sense. 36, we're going bishop to f1, which you would think queen takes, but that's going to end real badly after our queen forces enemy king over. You don't want to do that because then you have a mating opportunity, which is why enemy wisely does not capture bishop. Okay, bishop's going to stay. And the bishop want to stay here a little while. Don't you want to hold each other tight? Don't you want to fall asleep with me tonight? Only if you can handle some sleep talking. Sleep talking that is largely chess terminology, and that would have to freak most girls out, so I sleep alone. Bishop to f1. Rook to d2. Logical move, very logical, going after our queen. Kasparov's going to absolutely pin enemy rook, which is going to force a take there. And now we're free to steal rook, I believe, on h8, which we do. All right. On h8. Yep. Oh, man, that's where Kasparov's a lot better than me, guys, because he holds off. His patience is exceptional. So after, man, okay, rook takes on d7. So now you're going to take on c4 first, okay? Kasparov takes on c4, then loses his bishop, but gets a queen. That's a good trade. You're going to want to take that one. Queen takes on h8 now is what happens. And now rook's going to go to d3. He's going to fight out a few more moves, but he knows, enemy knows it's done. And Kasparov's going queen a8, threatening really one move away from getting in a position to really make it even more obvious that Kasparov is in control here. And enemy's going to go c3. Makes sense. If enemy could promote to a queen, enemy would have a fighting shot, but enemy won't. Because Kasparov's real good at chess. Queen's going to go a4, force check. Resignation's coming soon. Don't blame him. f4. Okay. e1, f4, ef4. Okay. Nope. ef4. There we go. All right. Enemy's going to bounce back with f5, and now we're just kind of wasting time, and enemy's realizing that. King to c1, rook to d2, and queen to a7, threatening some stuff, and enemy at this point resigns. And that's something I've had to accept, is my philosophy of never resign a chess battle has won me a few sympathy stalemate draws, but at the grandmaster level, which I'm aiming for in the intermediate to near future, it's probably real bad sportsmanship to not just resign out of respect at the grandmaster level. So I need to start resigning when I confidently calculate it's over, and that's why this king is laying down. And Nova, I'm sorry I woke you up, babe. The dramatic king slam was not worth waking up my baby. Sorry, no, love you. Yeah. So again, I analyzed that game to the best of my ability. Not a perfect analysis, but here's what I prefer. Gary Kasparov. My email is dmk0632chess@gmail.com. Please feel free to email me. I'm willing to travel. I'm also skeptical of certain political decisions that I've heard Kasparov speak passionately on. I'd be willing to talk about that also, along with Kasparov to come and analyze his immortal game himself on my podcast. I'd say let my people get in touch with your people or vice versa, but I don't have people. I have no money and a lot of heart for chess. So if you could just contact me, Gary, that'd be cool. Also, I mentioned on my previous podcast, controversy does sell. When I mentioned something about me being the Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades of Grey of chess, I meant it. And the only thing more controversial than that came to mind after that podcast. That's Donald Trump. I said it don't get much more controversial than the 50 Shades of Grey reference. I was wrong. Me and Donald Trump talking about some stuff that would be controversial as hell. And Trump's a big chess guy. I don't know what player rating he is. And I don't even care if we touch a chessboard. Donald Trump is one guest I'd be willing to put away the chessboard if we had to. I'd be intrigued to have that conversation. I won't get into my views on Trump because I am Trump. I like Trump. He's smart, obviously. You can say he's a wild card if you want, but you can't debate that he's done some cool stuff. And I'll stop there. But even if I didn't respect Trump and his talents, Trump loves chess. And the only thing I love more than people who love chess is chess. So Donald, Gary, be glad to see you on the podcast, talk about some stuff. You guys have a good week. Say bye. Say bye, babe. Hey, in case they don't like me, they can't not like you, babe, and I need subscribers, okay? Love you. Great job, Carl. You're so good. And please, and meeting for all.